Hi everybody. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the motion I'm proposing to this NEC. Two amendments have been proposed, both of which are positive, and I'd like to thank Jawanza and Ariana for introducing them. I'm sorry I can't be there to discuss the motion in person, but I'm in the United States now getting a new visa, and one of the conditions of that visa is I can't re-enter the UK until the middle of August. Luckily this time the visa is ready in time for the start of my course. Last year I had to leave the UK in the middle of term and come back in December. Now, one of the things we're still seeing, as Daniel Stevens has noted in his recent blog, is that wait times for visas and other documents are still unacceptably long, and the process is still impersonal and confusing. The only constant seems to be that the government is always making things worse. We recently had the announcement of this new bond deposit scheme coming in November for migrants from India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Ghana, and Nigeria. Since I submitted this motion, there's some reports saying the scheme might be revised, but it's still wrong in principle. It's a further criminalization of the 1 in 8 people in the UK and 1 in 5 HE students who are from another country. I wouldn't use that word criminalization lightly. Another piece of news since this motion was submitted, an ex-cabinet minister, Sarah Tether, who's MP for Brent Central, northwest London, has revealed, this was in The Guardian on Friday, that the government has a special group called the Hostile Environment Working Group, whose mission, assigned by the Prime Minister, is to make foreigners feel unwelcome. And it seems to be working. International student applications in FE have collapsed over the past year. Students from Africa and Asia are accusing the government of calculated racism. I think that accusation is absolutely accurate. It isn't only students from Britain's former colonial empire who are under attack. Students from Romania, Bulgaria, and now Croatia have to pay a fee, in addition to the lengthy permit application process that already existed, before they can start working. This fee and bond deposit scheme, these are just two ways cutbacks are being used to drive discrimination. Times Higher Education reported this week that implementing the government's new visa rules are costing universities £57 million a year, money that could go on student welfare, more tutors, or any number of things. On top of that, cuts to Home Office staff means increased discrimination, not just through applications from Africa being even more disproportionately rejected, but through outsourcing. It's now public knowledge that G4S and Serco have been defrauding the public here in the UK. These companies are notorious around the world for human rights abuses in Australia, the Middle East, Morocco, everywhere. The UK government's own reports highlight an incident, for example, where G4S used, quote, unacceptable force against a pregnant woman in a wheelchair in the course of deporting her. And one of the most outrageous things about these abuses is there's no mass outrage. The conversation in the government and the media starts and ends with the claim that migration is a bad thing. We see UKIP shooting upwards in the polls, and the response from the political centre is to lurch farther to the right. Not to oppose extremist racist ideas, but to embrace them, and to draft private landlords and indeed our own lecturers into implementing them. I have to call out the opposition on this point too. This bond deposit scheme, with an even higher money figure, was first proposed by Tony Blair's government in 2000. Both sides of the aisle have signed up on mass privatization and cutbacks. Yvette Cooper, the shadow immigration secretary, wants additional controls on student visas. And she's called for border guards to be able to raid colleges and arrest students on the spot if they're suspected of being irregular migrants. Now, if our elected leadership won't pose an alternative, then it falls to us. NUS has a strong record of fighting racism, and students in Edinburgh and Aberdeen have done us all proud by not giving Nigel Farage a moment's peace on his 2 recent visits to that country. Those students deserve our backing, and if Farage comes to Wales, I hope we will give him the exact same kind of welcome. Many of the people watching this helped stop the BNP from marching to the cenotaph at the beginning of June. We have to challenge not just xenophobic action on the ground, though, but xenophobic ideas and policy at every level. The 500,000 members of NUS who are international students in FE and HE, and the work we go on to do after we graduate, are living proof that immigration is not just necessary, but absolutely positive for British society as a whole, and that students as a whole are smarter than to let their comrades be scapegoated so the government can distract us from its own failures. Pass this motion, and tell the government and the whole political society, scrap the corrupt and racist migration system and start afresh, from one based on the common humanity of all the people they say they represent. Thank you.